Assalamu alaikum. This is Naveed Zehra. I'm a student of Amjad Morning 2018. My roll number is 17. This is my presentation. Topic is sampling and techniques of sampling. Submitted to Dr. Amjad Ali Arain. Sampling and techniques of sampling. Definition of sampling. Sampling is the process of selecting units, e.g., people, organizations, from a population of interest so that by studying the sample we may fairly generalize our results back to the population from which they were chosen. Techniques of sampling. Sampling techniques can be divided into two categories: probability sampling and non-probability sampling. Probability sampling uses random sampling techniques to create a sample. Probability sampling is based on the fact that every member of a population has a known and equal chance of being selected. For example, if you had a population of 100 people, each person would have odds of 1 out of 100 of being chosen. With non-probability sampling, those odds are not equal. For example, a person might have a better chance of being chosen if they live close to the researcher or have access to a computer. Probability sampling gives you the best chance to create a sample that is truly representative of the population. Types of probability sampling. Simple random sampling is a completely random method of selecting subjects. This can include assigning numbers to all subjects and then using a random number generator to choose random numbers. Classic ball and urn experiments are another example of this process. Assuming the balls are sufficiently mixed, the members whose numbers are chosen are included in the sample. Stratified random sampling involves splitting subjects into mutually exclusive groups and then using simple random sampling to choose members from groups. Systematic sampling means that you choose every net participant from a complete list. For example, you could choose every 10th person listed. Cluster random sampling is a way to randomly select participants from a list that is too large for simple random sampling. For example, if you wanted to choose 1,000 participants from the entire population of the US, it is likely impossible to get a complete list of everyone. Instead, the researcher randomly selects areas, i.e., cities or countries, and randomly selects from within those boundaries. Advantages of probability sampling. Cluster sampling, convenience and easy of use. Simple random sampling creates samples that are highly representative of the population. Stratified random sampling creates strata or layers that are highly representative of strata or layers in the population. Systematic sampling creates samples that are highly representative of the population without the needs for a random number generator. Disadvantages. Cluster sample might not work well if unit members are not homogeneous. For example, they are different from each other. Simple random sampling tedious and time consuming, especially when creating larger samples. Stratified random sampling tedious and time consuming, especially when creating larger samples. Systematic samples not as random as simple random sampling. Non-probability sampling. Definition. Non-probability sampling represents a group of sampling techniques that helps researchers to select units from a population that they are interested in studying. There are types of non-probability sampling. There are 5 types of non-probability sampling techniques that you may use when doing a dissertation at the undergraduate and master's level: quota sampling, convenience sampling, purposive sampling, self-selection sampling, and snowball sampling. Definition of snowball sampling may be defined as a technique for gathering research subjects through the identification of initial subject who is used to provide the names of other actors. These actors may themselves open possibilities of an expanding web of contact. This method finds out the like-minded people. By accessing one person, you can find a whole chain of people who are involved in the same kind of activities. Convincing sample. In convincing sample, researchers select any members of the population whose are easily available. Purposive sampling. Definition of purposive sampling. In purposive or judgmental sampling technique, the researcher him or herself collects the sample on the basis of his or her knowledge about the study and the population. In this technique, the selection of sampling purely depends on the judgment of the researcher. Quota sampling. Definition of quota sampling. In quota sampling, the samples are collected on the basis of proportion of the larger population. Quota sampling is kind of judgmental sampling. In this technique, the quota are set according to some specific characteristics. Advantages of non-probability sampling. A major advantage with non-probability sampling is that compared to probability sampling, it is very cost and time effective. It's also easy to use and can also be used when it's impossible to conduct probability sampling, e.g., when you have very small population to work with. Disadvantages of non-probability sampling. One major disadvantage of non-probability sampling is that it is impossible to know how well you are representing the population. Plus, you can't calculate confidence intervals and margin of error. This is the major reason why, if at all possible, you should consider probability sampling methods first. Thank you.